My name is JC. I'm representing the Positive Post Committee tonight in the College of Business. We have little positive postcards that we set throughout the building to encourage people writing little thank you notes to people around the college, whether it be students, faculty, staff, alumni. So that is kind of the mission behind the Power of Positivity. And because things are a little bit more virtual going into this year, we wanted to bring you virtual positivity, which is the idea behind this Power of Positivity speaker series. We're super excited to have DeMoine here to kick off the speaker series for this semester. We'll have one event every month, so please be on the lookout for future events coming up here in the next couple of months as well. But DeMoine here kicking us off, speaking about the power of positivity and positive mindsets. We're super excited to have you here, DeMoine. If anybody has any questions throughout the presentation, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. If you want to ask them anonymously, feel free to send it directly to me. My name is changed to Positive Post Committee, so you can message them to me, and then I will facilitate any Q&A at the end of the session. But without further ado, DeMoine, I will let you take it away.
All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us. I'm excited to be a part of this positive hype brought to you by the Positive Post Committee and the UNL College of Business. So again, we're simply trying to create an environment for students, staff, and faculty to practice being positive and spread positivity. Now, before we get started with this positive pep talk, because just like kindergartners, I know adults have that short attention span. So I see this more as a pep talk kind of presentation. Let's talk about 2020 really quick. You know, there was a lot of hype for people in a good way in 2020. For example, the Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl, and they're back in the Super Bowl. So for the Chiefs fans, I know that gave a lot of people just good energy, good vibes, hoping that you are crossing your fingers. Just in case you want to know, Tom Brady is my favorite player, and so that's all I have to say about that. But also, R&B singer The Weeknd had a hit, Blinding Lights, which had everybody grooving, not just on the weekend, but on a weekly basis. I mean, I think they should change its name to The Weekday, especially if he wins a Grammy. But then also, thinking about 2020, TikTok. Everybody create their own home TikToks, family TikToks, trying to do the whole Jason Derulo, all of the dancing and everything, lots of hype. And that's what people are all about. When everyone is talking about this and that based on what they're seeing, what they're reading, what they're hearing. So a lot of positive hype, positive vibes for 2020. But also there was other hype that wasn't so good that we experienced in 2020 that unfortunately we're still experiencing today. The helicopter crash that killed Kobe Bryant, his daughter, and 7 other passengers. COVID-19 pandemic that has really disrupted our society economically, socially, emotionally, and mentally. Black Lives Matters, the protests which were triggered from the killings of Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd, and the 2020 election process and the politics that surrounded that. Now, hype is good when hype is fun and positive, but when it becomes negative, we become negative. And so that's the thing about what we're trying to do here is we're simply trying to create those positive vibes, because whenever we let what is around us get inside of us, it will get the best of us in a good way or in a not so good way. And so far, positivity is losing. Negativity is winning. Because for a lot of us, we feel that we have no control whatsoever. And so we have many reasons to feel negative, angry, sad, scared, and anxious. But there is one thing that we do have control over that I want to talk about, and that's our attitude. And like my good friend and motivational speaker, Aaron Davis, likes to say, your attitude, your choice. Being positive is not something that we try to be. It's something that we must choose to be. And instead of waiting for positivity to happen, it's time for us to create our positivity. in spite of what's happening. And in order for this to happen, we must embrace this sense of personal responsibility as a UNL campus, as a UNL community, as a UNL family. Because we always hear there is no I in team, right? But however, there is an I in win. And I feel we all have a personal responsibility to put our I in winning against this battle called negativity. Now, I get it. Being positive is hard. And I'm not going to sit here and come as this expert to let you know that I've been positive throughout this entire time from last year around this time when all of this stuff hit us and it's still knocking us and it's hitting us. Kind of like the game of football. I was a defensive end here at Nebraska from 1998 to 2002. Now, I don't know how it feels to get hit, but I know what hitting feels like. And I would always bring the hit to make people feel it so that they feel like they don't want to play. They want to call their mama and go home or put me on a bench, coach. But we all know that whoever is running that ball, if they get hit, if they get knocked down, they get back up. That's a part of the game of football. But it's just like in life, we have been hit with bad news. We've been tackled with discouraging results. We've been knocked down by this and that to adapt to this and to try to make things work. So I get it. Being positive is hard, but it's a choice that we must make on a daily basis because every day we have to compete for our positivity. But a lot of us make the mistake of allowing the hype to divide us to where we feel that it's Black versus white. We feel that it's protesters versus the police. We feel that it's the Democrats versus Republicans or wearing masks versus not wearing masks. Again, when you let what is around you get inside you, it will get the best of you in a positive way or in a negative way. And right now, negativity is winning because there are people that think that they can say whatever they want to say and do whatever they want to do and have no regard or respect toward how other people feel. And that's the time that we live. That's the time that we're living in right now, which is why I say positivity is taking a big L right now. And you want to know why? Because the hype got us divided and competing against each other. That's why we have to learn what it means to put our heart over the hype. That's what we want to talk about. What does it mean to love others unconditionally, to show others that love and respect, not just focusing on someone's well-doing, but what about their well-being, making sure that it's not what you're doing, but how you're doing. Because in this game called life that we're playing, a lot of us are feeling knocked down. We're feeling tackled. And for a lot of us, we're finding it very difficult to get back up. But when we do this together, when we realize that we are Nebraska, then guess what? Day by day, that's when we must have this attitude to get better and better so we can be a team that can be beat and won't be beat. And so here's the thing. When we're divided, we think that the competition is against each other, but let me tell you who the real competition is. When you wake up in the morning, when you go to brush your teeth and wash your face, when you look in the mirror, that's your competition. Your competition is you versus you every single day. And so here's the competition. Will I give my best effort to be positive today, or will I give my best excuse to be negative today? Will I focus on what's going right, or will I focus on what's going wrong? Will I focus on what I can control, or will I focus on what I can't control? Because the question is, who is winning the competition? Are you competing? Are you sitting back and waiting for positivity to happen? Or are you doing something with what you can do to spread this thing that can help us, not hurt us? Negativity does no help it only harms us. It only keeps us back. It only divides us. And again, when we're divided, it's hard for us to win, but together we stand strong. And I believe in the leadership of this campus. I believe in all of the protocols that we're trying to put in place simply to help everyone to be resilient, to get back up, to strive, to persevere. Because positivity is a mindset, which means that everything that we do on a daily basis, we have to make sure that we're setting our minds with hope, with optimism, with resiliency, making sure that we continue to have this mindset to where we don't quit, we don't give up. Why? Because winners never quit and quitters never win. And when we own that personal responsibility by putting our eye in winning, positivity, and we do this together, who can stop us? That's when we can become a team that can't be beat, a team that won't be beat. So again, my question to you is, are you winning the competition against your competition, or are you losing to your competition? You see, mindset is so powerful because, thinking about my good friend and Gallup certified strengths-based leadership coach, Allison Horn, she spends a lot of time doing a lot of trainings with this book that I'm holding. Yeah, it's a kid's book. It's called How Full Is Your Bucket? I would still encourage you to get it, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. But she uses this book in a lot of her trainings and a lot of her coaching sessions to help others to understand how to increase the positive moments while reducing the negative. And although this book is about this kid, and they use this metaphor where this kid walks around with this bucket, and throughout the day, based on his interactions, his bucket gets dipped, his bucket gets spilled. And of course, when his bucket is empty, that's when he displays negativity. He's angry, he's frustrated, he's sad, anxiety, all of these things come out. I think the way that this book not only helps kids and adults, but just to let you know, since we are considered somewhat of a strengths-based university, I feel that we are all walking around here with an invisible bucket to where it either makes us feel positive or it leaves us feeling negative, depending on how full our bucket is. So my question is, who's filling your bucket? How are you filling your bucket? How full is your bucket? Because we get out what we put in. But on the flip side, we don't get out what we don't put in. You see, positivity is a mindset, and we cannot be influenced by the internet. I repeat, positivity is a mindset that should not be influenced by the internet. We have to take care of our minds so that our minds can take care of us in the classroom, in the workplace, in our relationships, in our sport, in our decision making, in our perception of others. We must make sure that this attitude that we have, this mindset, is not dependent on what we see, read, and hear on the internet. Because we win or lose by how we choose. And although being positive is hard, it is a daily choice. We must compete for our positivity. And so just think about your bucket right now. Think about how you're feeling. For a lot of people, if you're feeling negative, your bucket is empty. If you're feeling angry right now, if you're sad, if you're depressed, or if you're anxious right now, your bucket is empty. And that's why Allison Horn does a great job with, her training when using the resources that Gallup helps us understand that when we focus on our strengths instead of our weaknesses, when we focus on what's going right instead of what's going wrong, what we can do versus what we can't do, that helps us soar. And so understanding that analogy, if your bucket is empty, what are you filling your bucket up with? or should I say, who are some of those bucket fillers in your life? Someone who can encourage you with the courage by helping you, reminding you to give your best effort, to be positive, not negative. Reminding you to stay focused on what's going right instead of what's going wrong. Reminding you on what you can control instead of what you can't control, because we can never let what is out of our control take us out of our character. I repeat, we cannot allow what's out of our control to take us out of our character. Because we all have it. We are Nebraska, and we believe in the power of every person, but you win or lose by how you choose. You have to make that choice, and that choice is a daily choice. That choice is a choice where you have to compete every day. You have to say, I will be positive. You have to say, I will focus on the good. I will focus on what's going right instead of what's going wrong. You have to compete to win. We are in this thing to win this thing. And so far, we are not being defeated. We're still in school right now. The professors, the deans, the chancellor, the president, they are all doing everything that they can to help us to be resilient. Why? Because that's just who we are. Day by day, we get better and better. So we can be a team that can't be beat, won't be beat. So I ask the question again, who are some of those bucket fillers in your life? Because I can tell you there are many resources, especially for the students. You have counselors that will take the time to ask how you're doing instead of what you're doing. We also have a lot of advisors that are also trained to also be a good listener. There's so many people, mentors that we should be leaning on during this time. I get it. Some of us maybe are feeling lonely. We feel like no one can understand, but we're all going through this. Why? Because being positive is hard, and it's a choice. Your attitude, your choice. And as I said earlier, we have many reasons to be upset, to be negative, to be angry. Just like on May 30th and 31st, when all of the protesting, the riots and looting happened right here in Lincoln, Nebraska. Things were put on fire. Buildings were broke. It was protesters versus police. And of course, that on Sunday, May the 31st, there was a lot of hype that me being a Black man, it was hard to ignore. A lot of hype that began to dip and spill my bucket to where I began to feed into what was going on. And let me just pause because we cannot continue to feed our mind with everything that we see, read, and hear and expect to be positive. It just won't happen. But no one's perfect. And because of everything that was going on, I found myself feeling negative. I found myself feeling angry. I found myself feeling sad, scared, anxious. I found myself somewhat in the middle. I was somewhat paralyzed because on one end, in my head, I can't walk around being too Black, but also there was this other end to where I'm not being Black enough. And so all of this had me struggling because my bucket was empty. But I'm thankful for those positive people that I can lean on, coworkers, my boss, former coaches, my wife, other people that gave me those positive vibes to help fill my bucket up so that I can begin to see things the way that I was supposed to see them. Not in a negative way, but in a positive way. And to make sure that I wasn't focused on what could harm, to be a role model instead of a role follower. And because of those positive individuals, those mentors that I lean on, those people that filled my bucket back up with hope, with optimism, then that helped me to be able to ask the question, how can I become a solution? To be a critical thinker instead of being critical. And so how did I respond to all of that? Because I didn't want to be negative. Well, there was a lot of talk about racial injustice and social injustice. And so I'm asking, how can I create justice? I'm very thankful for the University of Nebraska Foundation, working with my boss, working with Brian Hastings, who is the president and CEO. They allowed me to create a fund to support more students like me, first generation, underrepresented, to have access to a quality education so that they can improve the quality of their life. I wanted to respond in a positive way. And I responded in a positive way because I allow positive people to fill my bucket up. Again, positivity is a mindset that we cannot allow to be influenced by the internet. We cannot get caught up in the hype of everything that we see, read, and hear. But sometimes it's about leaning on others. That does not make you weak. It actually makes you stronger. You know, my best friend turned 40 in July. I turned 40 in August, and the beginning of September. We're excited. We're talking about now. We're about to live some life. Life is about to get started. We're about to do some big things now that we're in our roaring 40s. On September the 18th, I got a call from one of my friends telling me that my best friend was in the hospital with COVID. And so slowly my bucket is being dipped. Slowly my bucket is being spilled because those feelings of feeling sad, those feelings of feeling anxious, those feelings of somewhat wanting to get out of my character, to go back home to Palm of Arkansas, to make sure that I'm there for my best friend. But I didn't want to put myself at risk, or my parents or my family at risk. So there was a struggle. And so September 18th, he was admitted into the hospital because of COVID. September 29th, he passed away in the hospital because of COVID. My bucket is empty. I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm feeling negative, I'm feeling hopeless. I'm focused on all of the things that are wrong. I'm finding excuses to be negative. I want to go home, I want to be there. And again, here I'm in this paralyzed state of mind that isn't healthy. But because of the positive people that I allowed to fill my bucket up during that time, great coworkers that I work with, friends that I went to college with, grad school, and just others that helped me to make a sound decision. Because again, when your bucket is filled, it helps you. When you take care of your mind by having a bucket filled with positivity, it helps you to make sound decisions. It helps you to think about others, to think about yourself, to think about what do we need to do in terms of our personal responsibility to put our eye and win. And based on my conversation with my best friend's mom, especially during those last couple of days of him being in the hospital, I knew that if my best friend was here, whispering in my ear, if I was there and he was whispering in my ear, he would tell me, don't worry about it, because I don't want anyone to go through what I was going through. I know you love me. I know you care for me. I appreciate it. And so I found a way to still show my respect to his mom. And I'm still finding ways to show my respect in a different way. It was sad not to be able to go back to his funeral because Palm of Arkansas was a hot spot. But I'm also very thankful that I realized what I needed in order for me to be resilient. And that's by getting my bucket filled with positivity, with positive vibes. Again, we win or lose by how we choose. And every single day we have to compete for our positivity. Being positive is hard, but it's a daily choice that we must make every single day. And it starts by us putting our heart over the hype, by making sure that we're showing more love than hate, by making sure that we're posting positive messages instead of negative memes, by making sure that we are finding ourselves more graceful instead of judgmental, by having meaningful conversations so that people aren't being so mean. The reason why sometimes it takes our eye to win? Because like my boss likes to say, sometimes we must be willing to go first. Think about ways that you can go first this week. Maybe start tonight. Maybe in 2021, how can you be willing to go first? Maybe by sending a nice message to your faculty or your professor or a few professors, thanking them for the sacrifices that they're making, the courage that they have, filling someone's bucket up. Or for the professors, think about ways that you can fill up the buckets of students by asking how they're doing instead of what they're doing. We can all lead by example, but during this time, we need more people that are willing to go first. And with this Positive Post Committee, we're just getting started with this series to let you know that we are in it to win it. We are a team. We believe in the power of every person. And when we work together as a team, as we continue to strive to prevent the spread of COVID-19, let's make sure that we strive to spread positivity and positive vibes. And when we put our heart over the hype, when we put our eye in this thing called winning, that's when we defeat negativity by not feed negativity, so that we can stay in character and know that day by day, we can only get better and better. To be a team that can't be beat, to be a team that won't be beat. So as I close and get ready for a couple questions, again, I just want to give a shout out to the Positive Post Committee and the UNL College of Business for putting this thing on so that the UNL campus, the students, the staff, and the faculty, we can all get our buckets filled up. And guess what happens when you have a filled bucket? We tend to fill other people's bucket. And that's what we need right now. That's positivity is what we need. Love never fails. And so I'm very grateful and humbled to have the opportunity to not only encourage you with this pep talk of courage, but to even share my own examples of times when I felt that my bucket was empty and I had every reason to be negative, to be angry, to be rude. But yet I chose positivity. I chose to not connect myself to all of the things that we read and see and hear, because our brain is like a sponge. And think about when we soak our minds into Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat and CNN and ABC and Fox News, all of the information will eventually become our thoughts. And for a lot of us, that's the first thing that we look at when we wake up. You know, we have some jam that is our alarm clock. We wake up, next thing you know, we're scrolling on Facebook, we're scrolling on Instagram, we're looking at all of the news, and it can be for 5 minutes. But understand that if our brains are like a sponge and we're soaking it into all of that information, even if it's for 5 minutes, as soon as we take that sponge out, guess what? That information is still there. We're still soaked with the information that will eventually become our thoughts. And our mood will always follow our thoughts. We have to guard our thoughts. And we cannot get caught up in all of the hype. Let's put our heart over the hype by spreading more positivity, by spreading more positive vibes, so that day by day, we will only get better. So we can be a team that can't be beat, won't be beat. So that's my positive pep talk. And now I want to have a little Q&A session with you.
Yes, thank you so much. Those are such powerful examples, and especially the idea of, like, even when you are in that rut of having your bucket completely full, figuring out who those people are in your life who can help fill up that bucket and get you back to that positive state. So thank you so much for sharing that. And it looks like Amy also says that too. Thank you for your vulnerability and sharing your examples. We're going to open it up for a Q&A section now. So if you want to go ahead and drop your questions in the chat, go ahead and do that. Again, if you would like to ask any of those questions anonymously, go ahead and send them to me. I have my name changed to Positive Post Committee in there, and then I can ask those and moderate the Q&A section from there. So we do have a question that has already come in. And they ask, how are you finding positive examples in today's world since we interact less with others? This person is often inspired by other people's examples, but now that we're working remotely, you don't get to quote unquote see as many great examples of positivity.
Well, I can tell you, I'm definitely not finding them on social media or in the news. I would probably consider myself a social media hater. If you find me on social media, I'm putting positive messages up. And for those that know me, I'm probably on there a couple of days a week. I simply want others to understand that what tends to be the norm should not be normal. We should not think that it's okay to treat people with rudeness and be inappropriate and just feel that there's this competition, and that only just makes things worse. You know, I'm filling my bucket up with books. This is one example. Gallup has another book out that talks about well-being. I'm trying to feed my mind so that my mind can take care of me every single day, because I know we have to compete for our positivity. So I don't spend a lot of time watching the news. I don't spend a lot of time on social media. I do spend time with other positive people so that we can continue to keep each other positive. Loving the Zoom capability that helps us to still stay connected. I've come to realize that it's our new face-to-face. And so, of course, picking up the phone or FaceTime. It's unfortunate I can't get back to see my parents, which could definitely put me in that I'm focusing on what's wrong. But the nice thing about technology is I can still see my folks. Maybe it's FaceTime. I know I've been working from home, just like most of my other coworkers. We've been working from home since March. That could be something seen as negative, but on the positive, I've seen more people taking walks. I found myself taking more walks and seeing things and seeing places on my house that needed to be painted. Oh, I should probably do some landscaping. All good things. So there have been some great moments, some great opportunities that have come from 2020. But understand that 2021, we have to continue to be optimistic, see the good, so that when we have that hopeful, positive perspective, we can always see that light. But we don't see that light spending all of our time on this thing right here. Let's spend our time having more face-to-face, whether it's via Zoom or being on a phone, staying connected to those bucket fillers, even if it's reading books, to keep you being positive.
That was great. And definitely thinking about how you're finding those people to surround yourself with that are those bucket fillers. So that way you can continue to not seek the positivity from your phone and more so from the people around you. We have another question that's kind of along that same vein. So thinking about those people who are around you, DeMoine, what is the best recognition that you've received in the last few days? Who was it from? What was it for? How did you feel? And how did you respond?
Oh, my boss does a great job of always asking how I'm doing instead of what I'm doing. Her name is Amy Clifcorn. Very positive, always focuses on what's right, strengths-based, great coach. And I would just say she reminds me to take the time to smell the roses. Sometimes I have a hard time to enjoy the moments because maybe I'm so focused and I'm ready for COVID to be done so that I can travel and really do my job the way that others have done their job for years and years. But when we're so focused on the future, we tend to miss out on those present moments. And so just having those reminders, let me know that I'm doing a good job in spite of everything that's going on, that keeps me feeling like, okay, I don't have to worry. Keeping my bucket filled with simply optimism and just making sure that it's not always about what you're doing, but I care about how you're doing. And she does a great job with me and with my other coworkers and so many other people that I work with through the University of Nebraska Foundation. We we really strive to make everyone feel like a family, to make everyone feel inclusive. And I think especially with me, particularly someone being a foreigner, because I'm from Palmer, Arkansas, it's still somewhat of a culture shock being here in Lincoln, Nebraska. But the foundation definitely makes me feel like family, and my boss does a great job of making sure that we are creating an inclusive environment, which is a healthy environment, so that we can all stay positive, work together, and continue to support each other as iron sharpens iron.
That's perfect. So this next question is kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum. And I think we can all relate to it in one way or another. But if we have somebody who potentially lives in our house, or a close family member or friend or something like that, who tends to be a little bit more negative, how can we help that person maybe become more positive?
I would say sometimes we have to lead by example. Kind of going back to the illustration, sometimes we have to be willing to go first and show them how we need to act, show them how we need to talk, show them how we need to respond, to be proactive instead of reactive. Or sometimes we have to grab other resources. There's a great book out called Crucial Conversations, and you can Google it to have a healthy and meaningful conversation, so that for those that are in the household and maybe they're, I guess, based on the events that have taken place over the last year, as someone divided the home or divided, the roommates are on two different pages. I think just because someone is different doesn't mean that they're wrong. I think we spend too much time focused on who's right versus what's right. But at the end of the day, love can never be wrong. Being positive can never be wrong. Negative against negative is always a lose-lose. And so my encouragement to those who maybe you're going through, I guess, some division or some conflict within your own household, and you're wondering, how can I make a difference? Well, you got to understand that what can you control? What can you not control? Your attitude is one, lead by example is two. But then in terms of your conversation, there's a difference between using your voice and raising your voice. I'm about using my voice, not raising my voice. And so those are just ways I feel that can hopefully help bring a mutual understanding within the household.
Absolutely. Such great examples. This next question that we have is specifically for you. They're wondering, how do you fill the bucket of those around you who you love?
How do I feel about what?
How do you fill the buckets of those around you who you love?
One of the ways that I do it on my social media, I post positive messages, words of encouragement, words of resiliency to help people to get through, to keep the right head, because I'm a firm believer that leaders don't create followers, leaders create leaders. I try to be a role model instead of a role follower. And so we all have a platform, especially if we are connected to some form of social media. And so that's one of the ways that I try to fill other people's bucket up. Sometimes I just may pick up the phone and call people. I know we tend to be text messaging and, so techie to where I'm still old school, and I'm not even old, by the way. I simply pick up the call on the phone and check on people, ask how they're doing, and just have a conversation. So those are two ways that I try to fill other people's bucket. And then it's important for me to make sure that I have bucket fillers in my life, because if you can make the mistake of filling up other people's bucket and now your bucket is empty. And so it's kind of a two-way street here. I want to make sure that we understand that what seems to be normal is not right. And so I try to lead by example by making sure that I'm shining my light, I'm shining my positivity the best way that I can. And when I do it on social media, which this is where most people spend their time, well, that's where I tend to try to spend a little time and just kind of let it sit. So social media, picking up the phone, seeing if someone is willing to hop on a Zoom just so that we can chat and stay connected. And hopefully by the summer of 2021, I can say, hey, man, let's meet at the water hole and get some of the best wings in this town. But right now, it's simply just trying to be a light in anything that I can. Being a role model, not a role follower.
Those are great examples, ways to create those positive touch points in other people's lives. Those are really, really great examples that I think everybody can apply. We have one more question in here, potentially from a Husker player who pointed out that you had referenced the day-by-day Husker locker room prayer and was wondering if you could expand on that a little bit and just like what that means to you and how you implement that in your life.
Yeah, great question, because I think for a lot of people, especially when the Huskers play on Saturdays, most people think that that's when the Huskers need to bring it on game day. But that day-by-day model simply means, as a former Husker, as current Huskers, the way that we approach every day, we approach Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday like it's game day. So that Saturday is just another day to where we're bringing it, to where we're bringing our A game, we're giving 100%, we're having each other's back, we're listening to our coaches, we're leading by example. Day by day is not only a choice, but it's a responsibility. And when we own that responsibility, that's when we own our leadership. Because leadership is not only about having a position, but it's a responsibility. It's not just a noun, it's a verb. And so I still live by that model every single day, because every single day is an opportunity for me to get better, to improve, to fill someone's bucket. Every day is an opportunity for all of us to spread positivity, to make the choice, to compete for our positivity in spite of the negative vibes. We have that choice. Our attitude, our choice. And we win or lose by how we choose, not just on some days, but every single day. It is a daily grind when it comes to being positive. And so being a former Husker helps me to have that same mentality of having grit, being resilient, not seeing signs to quit and give up or just to get by, but no, to get better. How can I get better? How can I help others? How can I hold others accountable? Because at the end of the day, we are Nebraska, and we believe in the power of every person to reach their full potential. And it starts with all of us, not just me, but the students, the staff, the faculty, everybody. Leadership, you don't have to be a certain age. You just simply have to be willing, have the courage to go first.
Love that. Yeah, such a great example of making sure that you're taking this journey of positivity or whatever challenge you're trying to face and just taking it on that day by day and not just treating it as a culminating event at the end of the week like a football game and just putting in the work every single day. That's a fantastic example. Well, I don't have any other questions on my end. So unless anybody has any questions that they want to throw into the chat really quickly, I see lots and lots of thank yous in here, DeMoine, and I will echo that again and again. Thank you so much for helping us kick off this outstanding first event of our speaker series. It has been a wonderful evening getting to hear from all of your wisdom and ways that we can implement positivity into our lives. So this event was recorded, so we will be emailing it to everybody who RSVP'd, so you'll be getting that in your inbox sometime here soon. But seriously, thank you so much, DeMoine. We are so thankful that you came and shared all of your insights with us tonight.
Thank you. Go Big Red.